I remember being in college and realizing that between my 6 classes, I had 10 long textbook chapters to read in one weekend. Yikes. Textbooks are notorious for putting students to sleep, and textbook reading is often the first thing to slip as the semester marches on. The problem here is that textbook reading isn't usually optional. Especially in lower level courses, the bulk of exam items often draw from textbook content. And no, even when the lectures are on the same topic as the chapter, your prof does not have time during the class session to go into everything that is covered in that textbook chapter. So if you are struggling to get through those textbook chapters or have just decided to toss those textbooks out the window to save your sanity, let's talk some strategies. We'll talk about things to do before, during, and after reading your next textbook chapter. So what should you do before actually reading? First, don't just start reading like you would a novel or that New York Times bestseller. Textbook reading is different and therefore requires different strategies. So when you sit down to a textbook chapter, first flip through, or if it's a digital copy, scroll through to look at what to expect. How many pages are there? What are the main topics covered? What is the general structure? Are there any built-in stopping points? And based on this information, estimate for yourself how long you think it will take you to read and actually comprehend that chapter. Next, split the chapter up into manageable sections that fit your reading attention span. You can do this by using the built-in subsections that many chapters have already, or you can create your own stopping points. Just be sure to mark those in some way for yourself so that when you get there, you know to pause, take a breath, take a break, and then you can go back and start in on that next section. Often 30 to 45 minute chunks are long enough that you can get into the flow of material and feel like you're making progress, but not so long that you are falling asleep or starting to fade away. But of course, everyone is different. So if you know you need shorter spans, or if you know you can power through and do longer, know yourself and make that choice based on what works best for you. Now, I mentioned take a pause between these sections. Actually do take a break. Don't just zoom right into the next section because that risks fatigue and drop off, meaning you won't actually finish that chapter. So go for a walk, get a snack, have a quick chat with a friend, do something that gives your brain a little mental break and moves your body a little bit to get your brain back to tip-top shape before jumping back in to the next reading section. Another thing to do before you actually launch into that chapter is to put your brain in big picture mode, and based on the topics you saw in that quick scan, ask at least one question that you'll be looking to answer as you read. This should be a question that actually interests you, that really sparks your curiosity. And even better is if it is a question that is personally relevant to you or your experience in some way. So let's talk an example here. Say you're taking an intro to psych class, and the textbook chapter is on motivation. Maybe the question you come up with here is, what is one strategy I can use to motivate myself to exercise more next term? When you are looking for the answer to a question that you actually care about, it becomes much easier for you to stay on task, stay focused, and actually comprehend what you are reading rather than experiencing that textbook fade away where you get to the end of the section or the chapter and realize, oh shoot, I have no idea what I just read. Finally, make sure your conditions support your reading. So obviously, you want to find a quiet space with minimal interruptions. Really consider silencing your phone and turning off other notifications or closing other tabs on your laptop to really minimize distractions and let your brain focus. Also, make sure that you have the materials on hand that you need to use. Maybe this is a notebook and pen, your laptop or your tablet with a charger, and of course, the textbook itself. One thing I suggest is to really avoid reading textbooks in your bed or on a comfy chair. That is just asking to fall asleep. Often reading at a desk or at a table where it's easy to take notes and stay awake is the best option. Finally, think about your headspace. So don't read when you are exhausted or cranky because it will be really hard for you to make the most of the time you're spending on your reading. All right, so we've done our pre-reading work. Now we're going to jump into what to do during the reading process. Now, passive reading, which is simply reading the text and doing nothing else, is not going to be very helpful for you. In order to actually learn the material, which is, of course, your goal, you need to read actively. This means thinking about what you are reading, asking questions about what you are reading, and doing something to actively make what you are reading yours. So, here are some options. First, you can mark up the text itself. Now, because most hard copy textbooks are rentals or buybacks these days, most students don't have the old school option of underlining or highlighting the textbook itself. So if you have a hard copy, you may need to get creative. You might take pictures of the textbook pages with your phone and mark them up real quick that way. Asterisk a key paragraph or underline a key quote. Or maybe you use really light pencil markings in the textbook itself. Those pencil markings, of course, are ones that are easily erasable when it comes time to return that textbook at the end of the term. On the other hand, many courses are moving to digital textbooks, which, although they can be more challenging to engage with sometimes, do offer some really great built-in markup options like highlighting or quote capture that really lend themselves well to this active reading process. The second option for active reading is taking notes. Now, I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of note-taking here. That's another video. But I do want to say that this is more than just writing down definitions or bold words. Active note-taking should leave you with a visual outline of the chapter that is all yours. And ideally, you should have an in your words summary or explanation of each key paragraph or subsection. A third thing you can do to read actively is draw. Now, this may be more relevant for some courses than others, depending on your topic. But if there are any complex theories or diagrams or anything that maybe is communicated most effectively in a visual way, drawing it out for yourself, even if you are just copying something from the textbook, the act of actually drawing it still engages your brain more actively than simply looking at it passively. And finally, we have the old school flashcards option. Now, these are different from notes. Flashcards, whether they are your old school paper cards or the many apps that are out there now that you can create digital flashcards on, are specifically designed to help you test yourself on key pieces of information that you want to commit to memory. So research tells us that the action of testing yourself, giving yourself a keyword, for example, and then challenging yourself to come up with that definition on your own, is the best way to commit information to long-term memory and self-assess our knowledge, help us know what we actually do know and what we may need to study more. A little secret here is that when you are using something like flashcards, often the ones you get wrong at first are the ones you learn the best because you have to engage more mental muscle to commit those to memory and learn those than the ones that you knew already. Now, one other thing to try during the reading process is listening. So some textbooks come with a listen or audio option. And this is a great way to mix things up and get another part of your brain involved in the learning process while still making progress on your textbook reading. If you don't have a built-in audio option, try reading aloud to yourself. This might sound a little strange, but even hearing the words from your own mouth engages the auditory part of your brain and can help you actually stay awake if you're starting to fade. Just don't forget to take notes while you're listening, or it will likely go in one ear and out the other. So let's wrap up with what to do after you're finished reading that chapter. The main thing here is to take some active steps to check your comprehension. That means how well you understood what you just read. So once you're finished, can you state 3 main points from what you just read? Or if your mom or your roommate asks what you were reading about, would you be able to summarize it in some way that made sense and actually was accurate? If you aren't able to do these comprehension tasks, that may be a cue that you need to go back and revisit that textbook chapter, reread some pieces, and maybe reevaluate your reading strategy or environment. So if you take the time to put these tips into practice, not only will you get more out of your textbook reading and feel less like you want to toss it out the window, but you will also be amazed at how much more easily it becomes to keep up with and actually understand what your professor is talking about in class. So stay the course, do the work, and you will experience those rewards. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you found this video helpful, and I will see you next time.